The raster data model in a lot of ways is simpler than the vector data model. In the raster data model, each grid cell or pixel has one value associated with it. So you can imagine this is just one grid cell, but just like a pixel in a digital image, it's going to build out into an entire map. When these raster data sets are stored in GIS, the way that they're stored is we know the coordinates of the lower left pixel, and then we know the cell size or the dimension of each pixel after that, so that each pixel can be placed in its proper geographic location. So this is just data stored with the raster layer, and then the rest of it is just the information of the raster layer, what each of those values are. One important thing about raster data is how good the resolution is. And by that we mean how small or how detailed, how fine of a resolution the individual grid cells or pixels that make up that raster layer are. And we can see how this changes. If we have a 100 meter by 100 meter grid, as shown on the left, we would have 4 grid cells within this area. However, if we cut the sides of those grid cells in half and make each one 50 meters, then we can see we don't get twice the number of pixels, we actually get 4 times the number of pixels. We go from 4 cells to 16 cells. And if we do it again, once again, we get 4 times as many pixels, going down to 25 meters and up to 64 cells of resolution. So that's an important thing to remember. As we cut the size of our grid cells in half because they're square, we're going to get 4 times higher resolution, and also 4 times higher or 4 times larger files in which they must be stored. So once we have this raster grid laid out, then we can just give each grid cell a value. This might be something like this map here, which is showing land use, whether it's agriculture, forest, highway, etc. Or it could be something like this, where we're just the same sort of information, but now we're displaying it in color, so that our mixed conifer forest is yellow and our Douglas fir is orange. Typically, though, we store numbers in our raster, and these rasters could, for example, be elevation values. And so when we make elevation maps, each one of those grid cells or pixels is just an individual value which represents the elevation that we would see if we were standing at that point there. As we can say, raster is good for this because elevation changes if we move 10 feet in one direction or another. So we can capture all of that variation very easily in a raster grid cell and be very precise about what the elevation is at every point. And even though the grid on the right looks kind of boring, just a bunch of numbers, we can take that and we can convert it into a nice elevation map in GIS by using things like adding colors based on how high the elevation is, and also adding a hill shading effect, which gives kind of a 3-dimensional look to the area by making some pixels darker or lighter shades of gray.